On the day of my engagement to Maya Jenkins, her childhood sweetheart, Liam Harper, turned our celebration into a bloodbath. He charged in like a raging bull, crashing into the champagne tower we had built with our own hands. Then, grabbing a jagged shard of glass, he pressed it against his throat and, in front of every guest, slashed down hard. Needless to say, the engagement ceremony was over, and my love life, on that very day, was buried along with it. The tower collapsed with a deafening crash, drenching me in golden liquid and glass splinters. Screams pierced my eardrums. Before I could even react, I saw Liam, the man who had haunted Maya's life like a ghost, clutching a bloody piece of glass, his other hand clamped over his neck. Blood gushed frantically through his fingers, dyeing his white dress, shirt a gruesome crimson. Time seemed to freeze for a second. Then, my fiancée, Maya, wearing the expensive custom gown I had paid for, lifted her skirt and flew past me like a panicked butterfly, throwing herself at the man collapsing in a pool of blood. She didn't even glance at me. Liam, are you okay? She screamed, her voice shrill and desperate, completely disregarding the blood soaking in her pristine dress. I stood rooted to the spot, like a ridiculous statue. Around me, guests gasped and whispered, while parents from both sides shouted in panic. Call 911. What is happening? Who is that guy? Why is the bride? The voices felt like needles stabbing into my ears, but I couldn't feel the pain. My senses were entirely focused on the chaotic center of the room. Maya was cradling Liam, tears and ruined makeup carving messy trenches down her face. The look in her eyes as she gazed at him was something I had never seen before, a look of love crushed by heartbreak and despair. I suddenly remembered that just an hour ago, when I put the ring on her finger, she had smiled and said, "Caleb, I'm so happy." Now, she was sobbing her heart out for another man. My heart contracted violently, the pain choking my breath. A bitter bile rose in my throat and my vision blurred. It had taken me 5 years from a broke nobody to where I was today, to give her an engagement party that was the talk of the city. I thought I had won. I thought I had finally secured her by my side forever. It turned out from start to finish, I was just a delusional clown. The MC was still awkwardly trying to smooth things over on the mic, the background music sounding jarringly cheerful. Slowly, step by step, I walked over. Maya's mother, my would-be mother-in-law, saw me. As if finding a vent for her hysteria, she rushed over and pointed a finger in my face. "Caleb Stone, are you satisfied? You pushed him to this. Are you happy now?" I looked at her, saying nothing. I shifted my gaze to Maya, who was kneeling on the floor, trying to staunch Liam's bleeding. She finally looked up and saw me. There was no guilt in her eyes, only resentment and pleading. "Caleb, help him. Call an ambulance. Do something. I'm begging you." I looked at her blood-stained hands, her tear-streaked face, and the way she humbled herself to beg me for another man. The last shred of warmth in my heart shattered alongside that champagne tower. I twitched the corner of my mouth, letting out a cold, barely audible laugh. Then, in front of everyone, I slowly pulled the brand-new engagement ring off my finger. The hospital corridor reeked of antiseptic, sharp and cold. Liam had been wheeled into the ER, and the red light above the door glowed like an ominous eye. Maya and her family kept vigil outside. Liam's parents had arrived, and the two families were a mess of tears and consolation. I stood alone at the far end of the hallway, an outsider. No one spoke to me, except for Maya's father, the man I once respectfully called Robert. He walked up to me, his usual amiable mask replaced by cold scrutiny. "Caleb, come with me." I followed him to a secluded corner. He lit his cigarette, took a deep drag, and the exhaled smoke blurred his expression. "Maya is immature. Don't hold it against her," he said, his voice raspy. "She and Liam grew up together. Their bond is deep. Today was just an impulse." I listened quietly, not making a sound. "Once this blows over, we'll redo the engagement party," he said in a tone that brokered no argument. "You're a man. Be the bigger person. Let's just pretend today never happened. Pretend it never happened." I looked at him, suddenly finding the whole situation incredibly absurd. My engagement was ruined. My fiancée was weeping over another man, and I had become the laughingstock of New York. And now, he wanted me to pretend it never happened. "Robert," I said, my voice so calm it sounded foreign even to me. "Do you think that's possible?" He paused, seemingly surprised that I would push back. He frowned, his tone dropping. "What do you mean? What do you want? Things are already like this. Do you want Maya to die?" "I don't want her to die." I looked at the red ER light, enunciating every word. "I just think we're not right for each other anymore." "Not right." He looked at me as if I told a massive joke, his voice rising sharply. Caleb, don't forget how you begged me to let you marry my daughter. Everything you have now. Didn't you claw your way up just to be worthy of our Maya? Now that you have some wings, you want to fly away. I stared at him, my fingernails digging into my palms. Yes, I had begged him. I loved Maya enough to lay down all my dignity. To make her parents respect me, I worked day and night, drinking with clients until I had ulcers, not taking a single day off for 3 years. I thought the future I built with my blood and sweat would secure a life for us. But all I got in return was her family telling me to be the bigger person, while she nearly died of grief for her childhood sweetheart. Robert, I forced a smile, you're right. Everything I did was for her. But that doesn't mean I can accept a fiancé whose heart belongs to another man. His face flushed red with anger. Just then, the ER doors opened. A doctor walked out, pulling down his mask. The patient is out of danger. The wound isn't deep, just a lot of blood loss. He needs to stay for observation. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. Maya rushed up to grab the doctor's hand, thanking him incoherently. Then, she turned and saw me. She hesitated, then walked toward me, tears still staining her face. Caleb, I'm sorry today. Save it. I interrupted her. I walked up to her, and in front of her and her entire family, I pressed the cold ring into her palm. Maya, we're done. I didn't go back to the new home we had decorated together. Every table, every chair, every plant there was etched with the memories of our last 5 years. As sweet as it once was, it was now equally ironic. I checked into a hotel near my office and threw myself onto the bed, my mind a blank slate. My phone vibrated frantically in my pocket. I knew without looking it was Maya and her family. I turned it off. The world instantly went quiet. I stared at the ceiling, the scenes from the engagement party replaying on a loop. The moment Liam fell, Maya's desperate sprint, the heartbroken look she gave him, her father's entitled accusations. Every image was like a knife, slicing through my heart over and over. I suddenly remembered the year I graduated college. I got my first job and my first paycheck, $3,000. I spent $2,500 of it buying her a necklace she had been eyeing for months. She hugged me and whispered in my ear, Caleb, you're so good to me. I won't marry anyone but you in this life. I held on to that sentence for years. I made it the fuel for all my ambition. Thinking back on it now, this life is truly a laughable term. I don't know how long I lay there. It wasn't until a burning pain flared in my stomach that I realized I hadn't eaten all day. I struggled up and took a shower. As the hot water hit me, I looked at my wretched reflection in the mirror, champagne stains still on my suit. I looked into those eyes. There was no sadness, no anger, just a dead, cold silence. The Caleb Stone who would give everything for Maya Jenkins died today. The man who survived was a lunatic who only wanted justice. I dried off, put on the hotel robe, and turned my phone back on. Dozens of missed calls and hundreds of texts flooded in. I didn't read them. I dialed my friend David Ross, a lawyer. David, I need a favor. What's up? Aren't you getting engaged? Congrats. The wedding is off. I cut him off. I need you to help me organize every single financial expense I've made over the last few years, especially those spent on Maya and her family. Also the house. I paid the down payment and the renovation costs, but both our names are on the deed. Silence on the other end for a few seconds. What happened? It's a long story, I said, my voice hoarse. Bottom line, I want to take back everything that belongs to me. Every single cent. Understood. David didn't pry. Send me the documents. I'll handle it. Hanging up, I started scrolling through transfer records, receipts, and chat logs. Every transfer corresponded to a memory. Honey, Mom saw a bag she likes. Transfer me some money. Babe, Dad wants to upgrade his car. For the furniture in our new house, I want imported pieces. In the past, I gave willingly. Now, these were the sharpest evidence. I packaged everything, encrypted the files, and sent them to David. By the time I finished, the sky was turning a hazy gray. I walked to the window and pulled back the curtains. The dawn over the city, the traffic starting to flow, a new day was beginning. My new life should begin too. Some love, once stained with blood, can never be washed clean. For the next week, I turned myself into a working machine. I volunteered to take over the most difficult project in the company, a mess that everyone else avoided like the plague. My colleagues looked at me with pity, probably assuming I was using work to numb myself. Only I knew. I wasn't numbing myself, I was sobering up. I needed money, I needed higher status, and I needed power. Only then could I make those who had slighted and trampled on me look up in regret. I slept only 4 hours a night. The rest of the time was poured into the project. Researching data, visiting clients, optimizing proposals. My body was exhausted, but my mind was hyper-alert. Whenever I felt like slacking off, the image of Maya running toward another man at the engagement party would float clearly before my eyes, like a shot of adrenaline, instantly filling me with strength. During this time, Maya came to the office to find me a few times. The first time, she stood downstairs, looking pitiful. "Caleb, can we talk?" I know I was wrong. I walked past her without squinting, as if she were invisible. The second time, she stormed into my office, crying and begging for forgiveness. There's really nothing between Liam and me. He's just like a brother. He was just impulsive that day. I was scared he would die. Brother? I stopped typing and looked up at her, smiling. You cry your heart out, holding your brother? You humiliate your fiancé in public for your brother. She was struck dumb by my questions, her face turning pale. Maya saved the speech. I stood up, walked around the desk, and looked down at her. I used to be stupid, but that doesn't mean I'll be stupid forever. Get out, don't interfere with my work. She had probably never seen me so cold before. She stepped back in fear and eventually ran away crying. I didn't feel a shred of softness. David was efficient. A week later, he placed a detailed asset division plan and a lawsuit on my desk. All the portions you personally funded have clear evidence, including the down payment for the house, renovation costs, and the large transfers you made to her and her family over the years. It totals $482,000. Legally, these are your premarital assets or conditional gifts. Since the marriage is off, you have the right to reclaim them. What about the house? I asked. The deed has both names, but you have overwhelming proof of contribution. The worst-case scenario is a split, but the court will likely award it to you, and you just need to compensate her a small amount. I don't want to compensate her, I said coldly. I want her to walk away with nothing. David looked at me and sighed. Caleb, I know you're angry, but the law. Then make her spit out everything she ate. I interrupted. That $480,000. I want every penny back. David was silent for a moment, then nodded. I understand. I'll apply for property preservation and freeze her bank accounts. I looked out at the skyscrapers, my eyes devoid of warmth. Maya, this is just the beginning. The lawyer's letter and court summons exploded in the Jenkins household like two bombs. The first call came from my former future mother-in-law. As soon as I picked up, she unleashed a torrent of abuse. Caleb Stone, you ungrateful wolf. Do you have a conscience? Our Maya was with you for 5 years, and now you're suing her? Asking her to pay back money? Is your heart made of coal? I held the phone away until she tired herself out, then spoke flatly. Mrs. Jenkins, first, I'm not your son-in-law anymore. Second, paying back debts is a universal principle. That money is my blood and sweat. It didn't fall from the sky. You. She was so angry she couldn't speak. That house is in Maya's name too. What right do you have to take it back? My name is on the deed too. I paid the down payment. I paid for the renovation. I pay the mortgage. What did your daughter contribute besides a name? I asked bluntly. Heavy breathing came from the other end, followed by the sound of Maya snatching the phone. Caleb, do you have to be this cruel? Her voice trembled with tears. Does our 5-year relationship mean nothing to you but money? Relationship? I laughed, a sound full of icy mockery. When you threw yourself at another man at our engagement, why didn't you talk about our relationship? When your family pointed at my nose and called me a loser, why didn't you talk about our relationship? Now you want to talk about feelings? Too late. Liam's family is already in chaos, and now you're pushing me. Can't you just let me go? Let you go. I retorted. But let me go. Maya, you betrayed me first. You chose this path, so please accept the consequences. I hung up and blocked their entire family's numbers. I knew Maya had no money. Her job was easy. She lived paycheck to paycheck, and she was used to spending lavishly. $480,000 was an astronomical figure to her. Her only hope was Liam. But from what I knew, while Liam's family had some money, they had spent a fortune on his medical bills and cleaning up the mess from the engagement party. Moreover, would Liam's parents be willing to pay this love debt caused by me? Sure enough, 2 days later, I heard the news from a friend. Maya went to Liam's house to ask for money and was cursed out by Liam's mother, who called her a jinx who almost got her son killed and was now trying to scam them. Maya and Liam got into a huge fight. Liam accused her of not breaking it off with me sooner, causing him to do something stupid on impulse. Maya cried that she was being sued and ruined because of him. Their true love was fragile in the face of reality. I felt no ripple of emotion hearing this. They deserved it. I poured all my energy into the mess of a project. I discovered the project wasn't bad inherently. The previous manager was too rigid and had offended a key figure on the client side. I spent 3 days reorganizing all the data and creating a brand new 100-page optimization plan. Then, I booked a slot with that key figure. Her secretary told me CEO Vance was very busy and could only give me 15 minutes. I arrived 30 minutes early at the meeting place, a tea room in a high-end private club. Pushing open the door, a faint scent of sandalwood drifted out. A woman in a black silk shirt had her back to me, focused on performing a tea ceremony. Her figure was slender, her hair cascading like a waterfall. Even from behind, she exuded an indescribable elegance and nobility. Ms. Vance, hello. I'm Caleb Stone from Horizon Systems, I said politely. The woman turned around. In that instant, my breath hitched. It was a devastatingly beautiful face, features exquisite like God's masterpiece, with phoenix eyes that slanted slightly upward, carrying a natural air of detachment and scrutiny. She looked no older than 27 or 28, yet her aura was so powerful it was hard to look her in the eye. This was Serena Vance, the woman who had single-handedly carved a path through the male-dominated investment world. Caleb Stone, her red lips parted slightly, her voice cool and pleasant. Seat. I pulled out a chair and placed the prepared proposal on the table. Ms. Vance, I know your time is precious. This is our new proposal for the project, please. Notarus. She interrupted me, sliding a cup of freshly poured tea toward me. Drink first. Her fingers were long and pale, her nails painted the same black as her shirt, looking mysterious and sexy. I picked up the cup and took a sip. The tea was rich and mellow, with a sweet aftertaste. Do you know why I'm only seeing you for 15 minutes? She looked at me, her gaze sharp enough to pierce the heart. Because you are very busy. She smiled, the corner of her mouth hooking up in a playful arc. No, because the previous person in charge from your company wasted 2 hours showing me a piece of garbage. I have no hope left for your company. Her words were harsh, but I couldn't refute them. Ms. Vance, I admit our previous work had errors, I said sincerely. But I hope you can give us one more chance. Spend 10 minutes looking at this new proposal. If you still think it's garbage after reading it, I'll leave immediately and won't bother you again. Serena raised an eyebrow, seemingly surprised by my directness and confidence. She picked up the thick document and flipped through it casually. I thought she would only glance at a few pages, but she read with increasing focus. Her body, originally leaning lazily against the chair, slowly straightened. 15 minutes passed. She didn't stop. 30 minutes passed. She reached the last page. The tea room was quiet, save for the rustling of paper. My palms were slightly sweating. This proposal was the battle I had staked everything on. Finally, she closed the folder and looked up at me. You wrote this proposal alone? Yes. You're Caleb Stone? She confirmed my name again. I am. She was silent for a few seconds, then leaned back, resuming her relaxed posture, but the look in her eyes held a new trace of amusement and appreciation. The plan is good. There are a few points that are quite interesting, she said. But a plan isn't enough. How do I know you have the ability to execute it? Give me a 1-month probation period. I interjected immediately. If the project doesn't meet your expectations within a month, we withdraw unconditionally. Serena smiled, her beautiful phoenix eyes narrowing. You have guts. She picked up her teacup and blew on it gently. I like working with people who have guts. She paused, then changed the subject. However, I heard you are currently going through a messy divorce. Or rather, your engagement party had a bit of an accident. My heart sank. I hadn't expected her to know about my personal life, let alone ask so bluntly. My fingers tightened around the teacup. It seems you've done a background check, Ms. Vance. I try to keep my voice calm. Of course, Serena said without hesitation. It's not just me working with you. It's the billions of dollars behind me. I have to ensure my partner is someone emotionally stable who can handle pressure, not a waste who loses his head over relationship issues. The word waste pricked my ears like a needle. I looked up, meeting her gaze directly. Ms. Vance, my private life will not affect my professional ability. On the contrary, precisely because of what happened, I need this project more than ever, and I will fight harder than anyone else to succeed. My expression must have been intense, full of undisguised ambition and ruthlessness. Serena looked at me, and instead of being intimidated, the interest in her eyes deepened. Is that so? She lightly traced the rim of her teacup, a meaningful smile playing on her red lips. Then I'd like to see just how much energy a man publicly betrayed by his fiancée can unleash. She had ripped my scar open and laid it bloody on the table. I felt the blood rush to my head. Just as I was about to lose my composure, she suddenly stood up. I'm keeping the proposal. Bring your team to my office for a meeting next Monday. With that, she picked up her clutch and turned to leave, leaving me with a view of her swaying, elegant silhouette. I froze, taking a moment to process. Did she agree? I looked at the cup of tea she had poured for me, now cold, feeling conflicted. This woman was like a graceful, dangerous cat. She toyed with people, yet at the last moment, she gave you the fish you wanted. She saw through my wretchedness, but she also saw my ambition. She didn't pity me. She was utilizing the ruthless drive I had developed from having nowhere else to vent my anger. Cruel but fair. I walked out of the tea room into the blinding sunlight. I took a deep breath and called my team. Get ready. We're going to the client's office on Monday. Regardless of Serena Vance's motives, I had grabbed onto this lifeline. I wasn't just going to win back my money and dignity. I was going to climb so high that Maya and Liam wouldn't even be qualified to look up at me. The court's verdict came quickly. In the face of the ironclad evidence David provided, Maya's defense was pale and weak. In the end, the court ruled that the house belonged to me, and Maya had to move out within a month. As for the $482,000, the court supported most of my claims, ordering Maya to repay $400,000. On the day I received the judgment, Maya stopped me at the courthouse entrance. She had lost a lot of weight. Her eyes were sunken, stripped of their former glow, looking haggard and defeated. Caleb, do you really have to destroy me completely? She asked with red-rimmed eyes. I'm just taking back what belongs to me. I looked at her expressionlessly. $400,000. Where am I supposed to get that kind of money? She grabbed my arm in agitation. Just have some pity on me. We loved each other once. Love? I shook off her hand with enough force to make her stumble. When you were holding Liam, why didn't you mention love? When your family called me an ingrate, why didn't you mention love? I stepped forward, forcing her back. Maya, begging won't work. I want every cent. And the house. I want it restored to its original state within a month. Otherwise, I'll apply for forced eviction. She looked at my unfamiliar face, her eyes shifting from pleading to despair, and finally to venomous hate. Caleb, you're cruel. You'll regret this. I ignored her curse and turned to leave. Regret. My only regret was not seeing her true color sooner. For the next month, I dedicated myself entirely to Serena's project. Serena was a demanding client. Her control over details bordered on obsessive. A single punctuation error could make her throw the proposal back in your face. My team was suffering, and several people wanted to quit. I called them into my office one by one, talked to them, encouraged them, and promised huge bonuses upon success. I led by example, being the first to arrive and the last to leave. Serena seemed to enjoy surprise inspections late at night. Several times, she texted at 1 a.m. asking about a detail in the plan, and I answered precisely within 3 minutes. Once, she came directly to our office. I was the only one in the entire workspace. She was wearing a sharp white suit and high heels, walking up to me step by step. Still working? Ms. Vance. I stood up, couldn't sleep, trying to figure out a problem. She glanced at the dense data models on my screen, then at the mountain of instant noodle cups on my desk. She said nothing, just picked up her phone and made a call. 20 minutes later, her assistant brought in a food container filled with steaming lobster bisque and several exquisite side dishes. Eat, she commanded briefly. I was taken aback. Ms. Vance, this. I just don't want my project manager dying on the job, she said indifferently, sitting in the chair opposite me. While you eat, tell me your plans for the next phase. That night, over lobster bisque, we talked for 3 whole hours. From project planning to market prospects to the future of the industry. I discovered she possessed not only beauty and presence, but also business acumen and strategic vision far beyond the norm. Talking with her was exhilarating. At the end, she looked at me and suddenly asked, Caleb, have you ever thought about jumping out of your current pond? Serena's words were like a pebble dropped into the calm lake of my heart. Jumping out. I had never thought about it. At Horizon Systems, I was a director. The next step was VP, which required seniority, not just ability. I thought this was my ceiling. Your ability goes beyond this, Serena said, seeing through me, her voice certain. When this project ends, come to my company. I'm setting up a new investment division. I want you to lead it. I stared at her in shock. Was she offer me a job? And starting right at the top of a department. Why me? I couldn't help but ask. Because you're ruthless. Serena looked straight into my eyes, making no secret of her appreciation. Ruthless to yourself and ruthless to others. Investment requires exactly that kind of person. Ambitious, calculating, rational. She paused, a meaningful smile tugging at her lips. Besides, you have nothing right now. You have no choice but to climb up. People like that are the most useful. Her words were direct, realistic, and hit the nail on the head. I fell silent. The condition she offered was a huge temptation, but I also understood the higher risks and brutal competition behind it. I need time to think. Of course. Serena stood up and smoothed her suit jacket. Give me an answer before the project ends. After she left, I sat in the empty office for a long time. The warmth of the bisque remained in my stomach, but a fire had been lit in my heart. Nothing to lose, no choice but to climb. She was right. I had nothing left to lose. So why not gamble? A month and a half later, the project concluded perfectly. The data far exceeded expectations, bringing huge profits to Serena's company. At the celebration party, Serena praised me by name in front of everyone. My boss was beaming, announcing my promotion and raise on the spot. Colleagues toasted me, congratulating me on my turnaround. I held my wine glass, but my gaze crossed the crowd to Serena in the seat of honor. She was looking at me, raising her glass in a distant toast. Her eyes seemed to ask, "Have you decided?" I put down my glass, walked through the noisy crowd, and stood before her. "Ms. Vance, I've made my decision." The party ended, and I walked Serena to her car. A black Bentley was waiting at the hotel entrance. The driver opened the door, but she didn't get in immediately. She turned to me. "Decided?" she asked. "Decided." I nodded. "I'll submit my resignation tomorrow." A satisfied smile appeared on Serena's face. "Good. Report to my company next Monday. HR will handle your onboarding." She finished speaking and was about to get in the car when she suddenly paused. "All right." She took a card out of her clutch and handed it to me. "This is an extra bonus for the project." I didn't take it. "Ms. Vance, the bonus in the contract is already generous. This is for me personally." She tucked the card into my suit pocket, her fingers brushing inadvertently against my chest, sending a slight tingle through me. "Take it. Get a new wardrobe and get a new car. My people can't look shabby." Her tone carried a dominance that refused rejection. I looked at her beautiful face inches from mine, smelled the faint fragrance she wore, and my heart skipped a beat. "Thank you, Ms. Vance." I accepted it in the end. I needed money to completely wipe away the traces of the past. Just then, an unwelcome voice rang out. "Caleb." I turned and saw Maya and Liam standing nearby. They must have come here for dinner and bumped into us. Maya's face turned ghostly pale in an instant. She looked at me, then at Serena beside me, then at the eye-catching Bentley, her eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Liam looked equally terrible. There was a gauze patch on his neck, and he looked gloomy and haggard. The look he gave me was full of jealousy and resentment. I guess they assumed I had latched onto a sugar mama so quickly. Serena saw them too. She raised an eyebrow with interest. Instead of stepping away, she took a step forward, leaning closer to me intimately. She whispered in my ear, voice low enough for only us to hear. "Your ex-fiancé? You have bad taste." I didn't speak, just stared coldly at the pair opposite us. Maya apparently couldn't handle the visual. She rushed over. "Caleb, who is she?" She pointed at Serena, demanding an answer. "That has nothing to do with you," I replied indifferently. "Nothing to do with me? You're driving me to a dead end for her?" she screamed. "Were you with her the whole time? Is that why you treated me like that?" This gaslighting accusation disgusted me. Before I could speak, Serena laughed. She stepped forward, shielding me behind her like a cat guarding its food, looking at Maya with elegance and dominance. "Miss," she parted her red lips, her voice not loud but cutting. "First, I am pursuing him, not the other way around. Second, even if he got with me the day after breaking up with you, that is his freedom. You, a woman who cried over another man at her own engagement party. What right do you have to stand here and question him?" Serena's words were like a slap in the face. Maya's face drained of blood, her lips trembling, unable to utter a word. Liam couldn't take it anymore. He rushed up to shield Maya, glaring viciously at me. "Caleb, don't go too far. You have money now, so you're a big shot? You think you can humiliate people?" "Humiliate?" Serena sneered. "Compared to what you two did at the engagement party, this counts as humiliation? Sir, if I were you, I'd find a hole to crawl into right now instead of yelling at my man." She emphasized the words, "my man." I stood behind her, looking at her slender but upright back, a strange feeling surging in my heart. This was the first time someone had stood by my side so unreservedly, speaking for me, defending me. Liam turned red, pointing at us. You just wait." He grabbed the soulless Maya and fled the scene in embarrassment. The farce ended. Serena turned around, looked at me, and raised an eyebrow. "Well, how was my performance?" "Thank you," I said sincerely. "No need." She raised her hand to straighten the tie Maya had grabbed earlier, the warmth of her fingertips seeping through the fabric. I told you, my people don't get bullied. Her action was natural and intimate, her eyes holding a barely perceptible smile. My heartbeat accelerated uncontrollably again. Get in. She withdrew her hand and turned to sit in the Bentley. I stood there watching the taillights fade into the distance, taking a long time to recover. I looked down at the cold card in my pocket and remembered how she defended me and called me her man. I suddenly realized Serena's feelings for me seemed to go beyond a boss appreciating a subordinate. The thought shook me. I shook my head, trying to toss the unrealistic idea out. I had just crawled out of a failed relationship, exhausted physically and mentally. I didn't have the energy to navigate another complex romance, especially with a woman as high status and unpredictable as Serena Vance. But undeniably, my heart was in chaos. The next day, I formally submitted my resignation. My boss tried to keep me, but my mind was made up. After finishing the paperwork, I took the card Serena gave me to the mall and replaced my wardrobe from head to toe. Then I went to a dealership and bought a black Porsche. When I drove the new car, wearing a tailored designer suit, and stood downstairs at Serena's company again, I felt like I had shed a layer of skin and been reborn. The humble, pleasing, blindly loving Caleb Stone had been buried. From today on, I lived only for myself. After joining Vance Capital, I realized just how much trust and opportunity Serena had given me. The new investment department had nothing except me, the commander without an army. Personnel, direction, startup capital. I had to fight for everything. It was a challenge, but also an opportunity. I used my previous connections and the resources Serena gave me to quickly build team. Then, I locked my sights on Liam's family business, Harper Construction. From my previous work, I knew their management was outdated and internal operations were a mess. They were rotting from the inside out. More importantly, they were bidding for a massive government-led urban renewal project. If they won, they'd survive. If they lost, their capital chain would snap instantly. And one of the judges for this project happened to be an old family friend of Serena's. I turned my plan into a detailed report and placed it on Serena's desk. The core was simple: sniping. We would use deeper capital and a superior proposal to snatch this project from Liam's family. I wanted him to taste the fall from heaven to hell. Serena finished the report and looked up, a hint of a smile in her eyes. Personal vendetta? Yes, I didn't hide it, but also for the company's benefit. This project has great prospects. We win, we profit. I like your honesty. Serena closed the report. Do it. Tell me if you need any support. With her approval, I moved immediately. For the next 2 months, my team and I worked like madmen. We conducted deeper research and created a plan far more forward-thinking and feasible than Harper Construction's. Simultaneously, through some channels, I obtained evidence of Harper Construction's financial chaos and cut corners. Everything was ready. On the day of the bid, I saw Liam again. Representing his father, he looked high-spirited, confident of victory. When he saw me, he froze, then sneered. Caleb, you're bidding too? Since when does Horizon do construction? He obviously thought I was still in my old job. I ignored him, walked straight up to him, and lowered my voice. Liam, enjoy your last good moments. His face changed instantly. When it was our turn to present, I displayed our perfect proposal alongside the damning evidence of their company's incompetence to all the judges. The room went into an uproar. Liam's face turned ashen in a split second. He pointed at me, lips trembling, unable to speak a word. The result was never in doubt. We won. Walking out of the conference room, I saw Liam's father slap him to the ground, screaming that he was a useless waste who ruins everything. In that moment, I felt no thrill of revenge, only a cold calm. This was not enough. Losing the urban renewal project was the straw that broke the camel's back for the Harper family. Banks called in loans, suppliers knocked on doors, stock prices plummeted. Within a month, Harper Construction announced bankruptcy liquidation. The Harper family went from local wealth to heavy debt overnight. Liam's father couldn't take the blow. He had a stroke and was paralyzed. And Maya, in the midst of this storm, was completely discarded. Liam's mother took all her anger out on her, calling her a curse and kicking her out of the house. She called me countless times. I didn't answer a single one. Later, she came to my company. I was in a meeting when my assistant said Maya was making a scene at the front desk, demanding to see me. I had security escort her out. I didn't expect her to wait downstairs all day. When I got off work, I saw her squatting by a planter, hair messy, looking gaunt like a homeless person. Seeing me, she immediately rushed over, hugging my leg and wailing. Caleb, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please forgive me. Let Liam go. His family's finished. What more do you want? Let's start over, okay? I won't see him anymore. I'll listen to you from now on. I'll do whatever you want. She cried with snot and tears running down her face, completely stripping herself of dignity. Colleagues around us were pointing and staring, but I only felt immense annoyance. I tried to shake her off, but she held on tighter. Just as I was losing my patience, a black Porsche pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing Serena's cool, beautiful face. She looked at me and the woman on the ground, frowning. She didn't get out, just honked the horn once. Then, right in front of Maya, she crooked her finger at me, lips parting, "Get in." Her tone was like summoning a pet. Yet, it carried a lethal attraction. I gave one last look at Maya, who was still wailing. There was not a shred of pity in my eyes. I forcefully pried her hands off, stood up straight, and adjusted the suit she had wrinkled. Then, I opened the door and sat in Serena's passenger seat. The engine roared, and we sped away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Maya kneeling on the ground, her figure getting smaller and smaller until she was just a blurry black dot. I withdrew my gaze and looked at Serena beside me. "Thank you. I told you, my people don't get bullied," she said flatly, eyes on the road. "But next time you handle this kind of thing, be more decisive." Like, she turned to glance at me, a smirk on her lips. Like kissing me directly. My heart skipped a beat at her words. The air in the car instantly became charged with tension. I looked at her perfect profile, my Adam's apple bobbing involuntarily. "Ms. Vance, don't joke." My voice was a bit dry. "Does it look like I'm joking?" She pulled the car over, turned, and fixed her phoenix eyes on me. "Caleb, you're a smart man. You should feel it." Of course I felt it. Her treatment of me had long exceeded the scope of boss and subordinate. She remembered my tastes, bringing me supper when I worked overtime. She blocked drinks for me at social events without batting an eye. She used the most dominant stance to bail me out when my ex harassed me. I just didn't dare to think it. I was afraid it was another illusion. I was speechless, not knowing how to respond. "You went through a divorce." "No, a failed engagement," Serena said for me. "So you're scared. You don't dare trust feelings anymore, especially with a woman like me who looks controlling and calculating, right?" She pierced through all my defenses with one sentence. I smiled bitterly, silently admitting it. "Caleb." She suddenly leaned in, bringing her face close to my ear. Her warm breath hit my skin, ticklish and numbing. "Listen to me. When I, Serena Vance, want someone, I get them. I don't care what you went through in the past. From the day you enter my company, you are mine. I'll give you time to clean up the mess from your past, to slowly get used to my existence." But she paused, reaching out to grip my chin, forcing me to look into her eyes. My patience is limited. With that, she pecked me lightly on the lips. Soft, warm, carrying the scent of her lipstick. Then, she quickly pulled back and restarted the car as if nothing had happened. I sat frozen in my seat, the warmth and touch still lingering on my lips. My brain was blank. This woman, she was always like this, using the most direct, overbearing methods to disrupt everything in my world. And damn it, my heart moved. When I got home, I received the last message from Maya. It was a screenshot of a bank transfer. $400,000, paid in full. The caption read, "Caleb, I paid it back. We owe each other nothing. Hope you and your sugar mommy live happily ever after." I looked at the sour sugar mommy comment and couldn't help laughing. I sent the screenshot to David and told him to drop the eviction order. Then, I deleted all of Maya's contact information. Let the past stay in the past. I looked at myself in the mirror, my eyes regaining their clarity and determination. "Serena, you wanted an answer? I'll give it to you now." The next day, I arrived at the company half an hour early. I didn't go to my office, but went straight to the CEO's suite on the top floor. Serena's assistant was surprised to see me. "Director Stone, looking for Ms. Vance? She's still in the morning meeting." "I'll wait." I sat in the reception area, holding a dark blue velvet box. About 20 minutes later, Serena walked out, heels clicking, surrounded by executives. She paused when she saw me, then said a few words to the people around her, dismissing them. "Looking for me?" She walked up to me, her tone returning to its usual coolness. I stood up, saying nothing, and simply opened the box in my hand. Inside was a pair of platinum bands, simple but exquisite in design. The inside of the men's ring was engraved with Serena. The inside of the women's ring was engraved with Caleb. Serena's gaze fell on the rings, and for the first time, visible surprise appeared on her usually unflappable face. "You, Serena." I looked in her eyes, calling her by her first name for the first time. "Didn't you ask for my answer? This is my answer." I took out the women's ring engraved with Caleb and dropped to one knee. I don't know if this counts as a proposal, and I don't know if you're willing to accept a man who failed at an engagement once. I'm not as rich as you, not as smart as you, and I even have a messy past. But I can promise that from today on, my heart, my eyes, will only hold you. I will use the rest of my life to treat you well, protect you, and never let you suffer a single grievance. Serena, will you? Give me a chance. The air around us seemed to freeze. Serena just stood there, staring at me, her eyes slowly reddening. I saw her take a deep breath, and then she smiled. She smiled like a child, bright and brilliant. She reached out her hand to me. "Idiot," she said, her voice holding a barely perceptible choke. "You already bought the ring. Can I even refuse?" I slid the ring onto her finger. Not too big, not too small, a perfect fit. Then, I stood up and pulled her tightly into my arms. Later, I heard about Maya and Liam's ending. After the bankruptcy, to pay off debts, they sold all their properties and squeezed into a dilapidated rental. Without money to prop it up, their so-called true love became hideous. They fought every day over groceries and bills, blaming each other, resenting each other. Once, Maya saw Serena and me walking intimately on the street. Rumor has it that, after she went home, she and Liam had their most violent fight yet, and Liam hit her in a rage. Eventually, they broke up. As for me, with Serena's help, my career soared. We got married and had a lovely daughter. Outside, Serena is the fierce female CEO. At home, she flusters herself trying to cook a meal for me. She snuggles in my arms, acting spoiled, and gets jealous if I even look at another woman. She gave me everything I once dreamed of, and even more. On a sunny afternoon, holding my daughter and watching Serena busy in the kitchen, I suddenly thought of that bloody engagement party. If not for that ultimate betrayal and humiliation, perhaps I never would have encountered this better world. Every loss in life, it turns out, is just making way for a better meeting. Story complete.